In the summer of 2012, I interviewed my grandmother about her life in the Philippines during the Japanese invasion of World War II.
Well, my name is Socorro, Toribio,
My family and I call her Lola.
and I was born in March 31st, 1925, in Baliwag. That's the town.
That's on the island of Luzon in the Philippines, just north of Manila. Lola comes from a fairly large family.
I have six brothers. No, no, not. That's the other way around. Six girls and two boys. And I'm the third one. Yeah, we supposed to be well off at that time. In our town, my family was the first one to own a car.
Baliwag was a modern town, even in today's standards. There was a high school, junior college, churches, and small stores.
Oh, my mother has a store, the delicatessen, because she loves to cook.
Lola would often help out there, stocking shelves, keeping everything clean. Life was simple, peaceful for most of Lola's childhood. All that changed in 1941, when the Japanese invaded the Philippines, only 10 hours after the attack on Pearl Harbor.
The Japanese invasion of the Philippines was conducted on schedule. On Luzon, the principal island, the strategy called for the forces which had landed at several points to drive toward Manila and seize that objective.
U.S. armed forces in the Philippines were outnumbered and overtaken. More than 80,000 U.S. soldiers became prisoners of war. This was another major blow to the U.S. hold on the entire Pacific region.
After a difficult campaign which had lasted 5 months, the invaders had finally succeeded in overpowering the remnants of the American Luzon force. The final battle had been one of the most bitterly fought defenses in history.
Lola was only 16 at the time. The Japanese occupation of Luzon was evident in Baliwag. Japanese soldiers walked the streets, forcefully searched homes, looted food and possessions.
They take anything they want. Yeah, they always get some chicken from our. Oh, they are very strict, and they always beating someone. They don't want to obey what they want them to do, and they beat them up. I have quite a few relatives they killed too.
The danger was especially great for women. Japanese soldiers were notorious for sexual assault after events such as the rape of Nanking.
When they come around, someone will notify us, and all my female relatives, all of us, they have to go in the attic and stay there.
Everyday Filipinos began forming underground resistance groups throughout Luzon and southern islands. They were motivated by survival and protection of their community. Japanese attempts to expand their hold on the Philippines were thwarted by guerrilla activity. Lola and her family were also part of the resistance, at great risks.
Because my brother is the second in command, the whole province, and he was wanted by the Japanese. And at that time, they took my father instead. I don't know what happened, because after so many weeks, we don't expect him to be alive. And they turn him loose. They cannot get anything from him, I believe.
The Filipino resistance was essential for the return of American forces. Joint attacks, gathering intelligence, and hiding U.S. troops. Lola and her family hid U.S. soldiers and weapons at their home.
These soldiers that arriving through submarine, they have to wind up where they are, and then they have to come down where all the civilian, the town. That's why our home is the place for them to come. And they have to report to our place first, and we took care of them. Yeah, and all that armaments they brought in, the armaments, all dynamite and guns and everything, they buried in our yard. we met quite a few that Filipino that they call it first and second regiment.
The 1st and 2nd Regiments were special forces units of the U.S. military comprised of Filipino Americans from the continental United States. One of these elite fighters was my grandfather, a demolitions expert named Alfredo Lim, or as we call him in our family, Lolo. He actually volunteered to serve.
I don't know, we just look at each other when I'm around. That's all. We never been alone. We never go on a date because over there you don't go out like they do here. I guess I fell in love with him.
Joint efforts between the Filipino resistance groups and U.S. forces were highly successful. Japanese plans were derailed, U.S. POWs were liberated, and a wealth of information was collected on the Japanese military. This paved the way for General MacArthur to lead a major U.S. attack to retake the Philippines in 1944. It was a brutal battle, and many lives were lost. Filipinos played an integral part in the attack, supporting supply lines, construction, civil administration, and fighting alongside U.S. Army units. The Japanese eventually surrendered. Lolo was awarded 2 Bronze Stars, a Presidential Unit Citation, and the Philippine Liberation Medal, among others. The end of the war also meant that the many displaced Filipinos could return home.
You know, everyone was so happy that they are going back where they came from. Yeah. Most of them came from Manila. And our place is about 30 miles, I believe, from Manila. And they're walking, and all these people, you know, they were tired. And one evening, my mother fed all of them, and that's quite a few. I don't remember how many, because they sleep in our place. On the whole floor, it's of people sleeping. Just people that walking, you know, they have to travel by walking.
Soon after, Lolo and Lola got married. After Lolo's discharge from the U.S. Army, he worked as a technician for the Air Force. 3 years later, Lolo wanted to return home to the U.S. Now, with 2 sons, they moved to California, but they faced new challenges.
You know, when we were looking for a home, and then we go around and see which home you know, because there's a sign for sale. But when they have opening, we're trying to see it, and the real estate meet you right outside the front door. It said, it's not, you know, it's not open for you guys. Because at that time, you cannot buy a home with, even you have money, you cannot buy a home with all the Caucasian live. And I was so disgusted, you know, because when during the war, the Caucasian, we have lieutenant and captain that with your Lolo, and we treat them like a king. That's what we treated them. Mm-hmm. All this, even Filipino that came from here, we really, you know, look after all of them. And then when we got here, you know, this the one I saw at that time and heard that you cannot live, even you have money.
After a period of searching, they eventually found a home in Berkeley, in a predominantly Asian and Italian neighborhood. Lolo worked several jobs, while Lola took on the responsibility of raising their children. She also took it upon herself to adapt to American culture as fast as possible.
All my know-how and things, it's all self-taught. Yeah.
Like what?
Just like English, I have to, because at that time I really loved to read. I read books, yeah. And that's the way I learned.
When asked how she learned to drive, she said she read a book. Lola and Lolo had 2 more children, one being my mother. Today, Lola and Lolo live in San Diego. When I asked Lola whether she was happy with her life, she answered,
Well, I'm happy they're all succeed.
referring to her 4 children, 8 grandchildren, and 3 great-grandchildren.